Hi, greetings, Triggers and Trickers. Well, our look at Star Trek Deep Space Nine now continues on with the episode Paradise. Sisko and O'Brien aboard the USS Rio Grande are in the middle of a discussion about the possibility of Jake Sisko breastfeeding with the Chief to help prepare him for Starfleet Academy. When Sisko mentions that Jake is in the lower third of his age group on a mechanical aptitude test, O'Brien reveals O'Brien reveals that the same was true of him at the boy's age. He says his experiences on the front lines during the Federation-Cardassian War were what taught him the most and relates a story about repairing a field transporter on Celtic 3 before he and others became prisoners of war, which was the reason he became an engineer. As they talk, they come upon an M-class planet which would be a perfect place to build a colony. However, there was already an uncharted human colony on the planet. The colony does not respond to hails, likely due to low-level geonetic field that O'Brien suspects interfering with the hailing signal. They decide to beam down and say hello the old-fashioned way. The moment Sisko and O'Brien materialize on the planet's surface, the tricorder ceases functioning. Not even the diagnostic subroutine will work. O'Brien attempts to contact the runabout, the Rio Grande, but his combat, as well as their phasers, appear to be non-functional as well. O'Brien suspects the suppression of their devices' electromagnetic activity may have something to do with that geonetic field, although he is not sure what. Before they can investigate further, a voice from behind orders them not to move and to put their hands up. A pair of humans stand behind O'Brien and Sisko, the younger one armed with a bow. The older man, Joseph, recognizes their Starfleet uniforms after a second and has the younger one lower his weapon. He introduces himself and his companion Vinod and explains that they are part of a group of colonists who were destined for Gimulon 5 over 10 years ago. When their ship developed life support problems, they landed on the planet and, like the tricorder, all of their electronic devices stopped working. As Joseph and Vinod lead them to the colonist village, Sisko recognizes the Erewhon-class transport. It was originally named the SS Santa Maria, but now the colonists refer to it simply as the cabin. Alexis, apparently the community leader, is delighted when she sees O'Brien and Sisko. The entire village comes out to see the newcomers and they answer several questions from the colonists about the outside world and how it's developed in the past 10 years. Joseph was engineered by the Santa Maria but is unfamiliar with runabouts, which O'Brien explains are multi-purpose vessels a quarter of the Santa Maria's size. Apparently, the villagers gave up any hope of escape years ago, in part because the marshes surrounding the village are filled with aspartame deposits. Like the runabout, their ship detected the geonetic field, but they've been able to bypass whatever is inhibiting EM activity. Alexa seems especially proud of how well the colonists have performed under the circumstances, boasting about the quality of life they enjoy despite the lack of comfort such as replicators. She claims that, despite many hardships and deaths of several colonists, they've rediscovered what man is capable of without technology. Sisko reassures the colonists that even if they are unable to contact the runabout, someone from Deep Space Nine will eventually find it in orbit. However, when the topic of leaving comes up, Alexis says each person will have to make his or her mind up for themselves and declares her intention to stay on the planet. What they have, she says, means too much to her. However, Alexis welcomes O'Brien and Sisko to everything the village has to offer, the only condition being that they contribute. She says that supper tastes sweeter when one works for it. As Joseph leads O'Brien and Sisko off to find a place where they can stay, Alexis tells Vinod that 2 more strong, healthy men could mean a lot to their community. Back on DS9, the crew are unaware of O'Brien and Sisko's predicament. In Ops, Kira and Dax make small talk as Kira wonders why someone named Admiral Mitsuya has made arrangements to divert the USS Crockett to the stage for a discussion about Cardassian foreign policy. Dax loves and tells her an excuse to play poker with Sisko, as Mitsuya wiped him out a year ago. She remarks about how Sisko has never had a poker face in Dax's 2 lifetimes of knowing him. While Dax talks, Kira notices that the Rio Grande is not responding to her hails. Meanwhile, Sisko has discovered that Alexis authored numerous books prior to becoming stranded. A philosopher, she wrote about a variety of topics, including economics, politics, and literature. Of particular note is that Alexis was a harsh critic of humanity's heavy reliance on technology, claiming that it made people fat and lazy and dull. O'Brien casually joked that it took a crush on for Alexis to find her paradise. O'Brien isn't able to find anything among the wreckage of the Santa Maria to use in his efforts to contact the runabout. However, Joseph informs him that the colonists discarded all such materials long ago. In part, this was because they were unable to use it, but Sisko takes hand of Alexis at work. Joseph admits she told the colonists that removing the advanced technology was necessary to make the transition to their new lifestyle easier. As an engineer, he describes himself as the last convert, but he believes Alexis helped the colonists discover a new philosophy of life and that they are better for it. Cassandra interrupts the conversation to inform him that the condition of a young girl named Meg has deteriorated. Meg has to bite from one native insects, which the colonists are trying to heal using various combinations of indigenous plants. It is not working, and Alexis tells Sisko 3 colonists have already died from similar bites. Afraid Meg will die before a rescue team arrives, and lacking faith in the colonists' ability to find a cure, he and O'Brien discuss ways by which to contact the runabout, which likely has a cure in its medikit. Alexis tells them to search for a root or fungus in the forest, and when Sisko argues with her, she has to talk to him outside. Along with Sisko, Alexis warns him that the talk of contacting the runabout is not constructive. She insists that he is wasting precious time and must not plant such ideas in the colonist's head. Sisko pushes the point, but Alexis claims they are doing all they can for Meg. When he points out a bull-faced lie, she forbids any further discussion of a Starfleet party. Before they come, if they come, you'll have to do things our way, she tells him. Before leaving, Alexis adds that the plan is hot in the afternoon and suggests he take his uniform off. Deep Space Nine receives a report from Starfleet Command that the Romulan vessel Gasco reported seeing an abandoned runabout in Sector 401. The Marquis map shows the Rio Grande, and the report says the runabout was traveling in Warp 2. Kerendex immediately started an investigation, leaving ops and heading to Landing Pad C. Venat compliments Sisko on his skill as to prepare the field for planting. Sisko tells him that his father was a chef who grew his own food, and he and his brothers used to work the garden every day. Unlike the other colonists, Venat has never eaten replicated food because Alexis never allowed it. The other colonists had grown up on replicated food, he says, so the flavor of food from hand-grown gardens came as quite a surprise at first. O'Brien tells of how, while also if Keiko is a botanist, he is known as the Black Thumb. He thinks she will like the planet, and when Joseph suggests that Keiko visit someday, O'Brien jokingly suggests she would not want to leave if she did so. The men's intention is taken away from the field when 2 colonists open a nearby box with the young man inside. The man's name is Stefan, and as they learn, he was placed in the box the day before for stealing a candle. While O'Brien and Sisko find such a punishment system outrageous, Alexis claims that all of the colonists approved it and they all live by it. As Stefan recovers from his time in the box, he apologizes to Alexis for letting the community down. She tells Stefan that the matter is closed and sends him away. Once he is gone, Alexis points out to Sisko that neither Stefan nor anyone who saw him will ever steal again, calling the punishment box a simple and effective way to maintain law and order. As Alexis leaves, O'Brien suspects she does not plan on him or Sisko leaving anytime soon. That night, Cassandra comes to Sisko's room and asks if he needs anything. When he says no, she enters anyway carrying a bowl of oil extracted from a stupta tree. She apologizes for the fact that there are no doors, a policy Alexis implemented, and tells him he eventually will grow accustomed to the tradition with time. Alexis has told the colonists to be patient with Sisko until he's accustomed to their way of life, although he has no intention to stay any longer than necessary. She offers to massage Sisko with the oil, insisting it will make him feel better. When Sisko asks if Alexis sent Cassandra to make love to him, she looks frightened. Sisko visits Alexis' room immediately. Surprised to see Sisko, Alexis says she's right about him and O'Brien and mentions she has heard he is quite a chef. Angry slams her book shut and she seems pleased, claiming this first core behavior she has seen in him. Does a chapter come before or after sexual procurement? He angrily demands. Alexis admits to sending Cassandra to his room and Sisko calls her contemptible. In Alexis' view, however, Cassandra wanted to make Sisko feel welcome and Alexis suggested she might make things easier for him. The choice was Cassandra's. Cisco mentions the interesting coincidence that Lexus became stranded on a planet that fit her philosophy so well, and she agrees, bringing up another book she is writing. Seeing that Cisco still rejects her way of life, Lexus assigns Cisco to guard duty for the rest of the night. The next day at breakfast, Lexus asks if tired Cisco able to work his normal shift in the field, infuriating O'Brien. She only tells Cisco she will understand if he cannot work, but he tells her he can work his shift just fine. Alexis knows with enthusiasm that Joseph is optimistic about a new combination of herbs with which she hopes to cure Meg. Once more, she suggests that Cisco change to some more comfortable clothes. Following the runaway Rio Grande to the Orinoco, Kira and Dax work on a way to catch it. Kira plots an intercept course and plans to beam over, but Dax looks for a better idea. She begins configuring the runabout's controls to claim she can use an old rope trick she once learned from a Hopi. Theoretically, Dax can use a tractor beam to rope the Rio Grande and bring it back to Impulse, although Kira points out that there is also a chance the resulting strain will tear the hulls of both runabouts apart. However, it's the best chance they have, and Kira reluctantly agrees. After a couple of tries, Dax manages to catch Rio Grande with the tractor beam, and as Orinoco brakes sharply, it forces the other runabout to come to a stop, allowing them to beam aboard. Back on the planet, Alexius informs the village that Meg has died and that no one was prouder of what the village has accomplished than Meg was, calling her an inspiration. Alexius used Meg's death as a segue, claiming someone has committed an act that by its very nature defiles Meg's memory. As Manat brings O'Brien out of the building behind Alexis, she claims that he and Cisco have continually disrespected the village's way of life and that O'Brien has committed the worst offense possible, selfishly wasting time that could have been put to productive use. The offense is that O'Brien was found attempting to contact his and Cisco's runabout, and as Joseph points out, it was probably an effort to retrieve medical supplies with which to help Meg. Alexius thanks Joseph for bringing that point up, as it demonstrates the true danger that O'Brien and Cisco represent. Had the villagers spent their time trying to escape from the planet over the course of the past 10 years, Alexius claims they would all be dead. As he realizes where Alexius is going with the topic, Cisco asks if Alexius plans to put O'Brien in the punishment box. No, Ben, she answers. As his commanding officer, I'm putting you in there. An angry O'Brien attempts to intervene but is restrained by Venat and another villager. Without a word, Cisco places himself in the box and 2 villagers seal him in. Uh-oh. Kira and Dax find no signs of struggle or weapons fired aboard the Rio Grande, and are perplexed by the fact that it was flying aimlessly through space. Further investigation reveals that it has been exposed to intense gamma radiation, resulting from close proximity to Aurelius Minor, a nearby star. Dax hypothesizes that someone tried to destroy the Rio Grande by flying it into the star, for that the trajectory was sadly off. The gravity of the star could have deflected the ship and sent it off in a new direction. They tow the Orinoco back to the Aurelius system in hope of tracing the runabout's original warp signature. The next morning, Cisco is brought into Alexius' office, visibly weak and unable to talk. She tries to comfort him by claiming that watching him suffer is painful for her. She wants to help him, to give him food and water, but she needs him to help her as well. Alexius offers Cisco water if he will change to different clothes, leaving them on the table as she exits. Seconds later, he staggers out of the building still in a Starfleet uniform, motioning for O'Brien to stay away. He slowly places himself back in the punishment box and closes the door. When Joseph finds O'Brien in a nearby cave, O'Brien solicits Joseph's help in disabling the dual-noetic field. Though Joseph repeats Axelius' claim that nearby ascertained deposits have caused the field, he and O'Brien both know that were that the case, they could have contacted the runabout long ago. O'Brien thinks he has discovered a way to find the source of the field, but he knows that if Joseph simply looks the other way, Alexius will put Joseph in the punishment box. He asks Joseph to look at a hematite deposit he has discovered, and Joseph, knowing what O'Brien plans to do, reluctantly complies. Knocking Joseph out gently, O'Brien whispers, "I owe you one, my friend." An improvised compass leads O'Brien as he wanders through the woods until he finds a clearing where there is a very faint but very strange humming. Confused, he observes some nearby dirt to reveal a power generator. He slowly realizes what the generator means when an arrow hits a nearby tree, just barely missing him. Venat prepares to fire another and O'Brien runs. After a brief chase through the forest, Venat shoots what he thinks is O'Brien in a bush, but he discovers it is only O'Brien's uniform. O'Brien tackles the confused Venat from a nearby tree and subdues him, noting with amusement that Alexius finally got one of the Starfleet officers out of his uniform. O'Brien enters the village with Venat restrained and demands to see Alexius. He opens the punishment box with his now functional phaser and reveals to the colonists that the geomagnetic field was artificially created. However, when Sisko attempts to contact the runabout, he finds it missing. Alexius emerges and admits that she destroyed the runabout and even helped invent the device that created the geomagnetic field in the first place. She had planned the crash on the isolated planet. The colonists are outraged, but Alexius defends her actions by pointing out how much better each of them is thanks to the accident. Sisko asks about Meg and the others who died. She replies that even if her son had been one of the sick colonists who ultimately perished, she will let him die for the sake of the community. She says she is prepared to leave an answer for what she has done. Kira contacts Sisko and tells her to stand by for multiple transports. Brian says the colonists should pack up whatever they want to take with them, but Joseph stops him. They do not want to leave, he says. However unethical Alexius's methods were, the planet is the colonists' home now, and nothing will change that. As Joseph and apparently the rest of the colonists see it, she may have taken 10 years of their lives, but she gave them the gift of their community in exchange. Excuse me. He says he doesn't know if they'll leave the dampening device on or off, but they have a community they value, and they want to stay. It's time for those of us who don't belong here to leave, Alexius tells Sisko, and he, O'Brien, Alexius, and Venat beam off the planet's surface. The colonists go about their business, leaving 2 young children, who don't have any say in their own fate of staying on the planet, staring at the punishment box, which stands in the foreground like a bad omen. Dun dun dun. So anyway, let's take a look at some background information with this episode, beginning with story and script. Mocker Pillar commented, quote, "We hadn't done a Sisko episode since Second Sight, and I wanted to do another show that gave Sisko the opportunity to show courage and force of personality. The idea of a cult was chosen as Michael Pillar was interested in the idea. Pillar commented, quote, "Cultism is an issue that I'm very interested in because I've got a family member who was involved in a cult, so I had to study the issues quite a bit." Jen Trombetta based his original idea for the episode on the primitivist anti-technology philosophy of the Khmer Rouge of Southeast Asia. In a deleted or unfilled part of this scene where Sisko and O'Brien confront Alexius with their evidence, Alexius mentions that she met a quantum physicist at the Delta 6 station who had been investigating the effect of radiation on electromagnetic flow, giving her the idea of the geonetic field. The term Zydrelian is used for the second time in the script, with the first being an Armageddon game. And now on to the production of this episode. Paradise is filmed in Griffith Park in Los Angeles. The village and the Santa Maria were designed by Jim Martin. David Livingston commented, quote, "It was a tough show because we had to create an exterior environment on stage 18. The way that Corey and Martin shot it with long lenses and stuff was successful in selling that world. It was fun to build part of a ship on the surface, so you really got the sense of size. We wanted to be bigger, but we just didn't have the money, so the grand designs that we had for the set were severely truncated." Dennis McCarthy composed the music for the episode. McCarthy commented, quote, "There's an 8-minute sequence at the end where Alexius is trying to get everybody to stay. As I watched it, I thought, what would Martin Luther have put in here? So I played it from a very Protestant viewpoint, using all the old church harmonies. It's subtle, but if assuring the music went slightly more melodic, it could be used as a hymnal. I received asked Han Beimler and Richard Manning to join the writing staff of Star Trek Deep Space Nine during the filming of this episode, but each declined. Beimler joined the crew a year later as a producer and writer. Nice. And now finally onto some trivia surrounding this episode. The colonists say they have not seen a Starfleet uniform in 10 years. The style would have been the kind seen in seasons 1 and 2 of TNG. Sisko begins a station log while aboard the Rio Grande. This episode sets up Jake's ongoing apprenticeship to O'Brien, which will become official in the next episode. 4 actors, Rene Auberjonois, Siddig El-Fadil, Armin Shimmerman, and Sarah Glofton do not appear in this episode. This is the first of a series in which Rene Auberjonois and Siddig El-Fadil do not appear. A script for this episode was sold off in the It's a Wrap sale and auction on eBay. It may seem contradictory that O'Brien says his actions during the Cardassian Wars earned him the gold suit, while in his first appearance in Encounter at Farpoint he is seen wearing the red style outfit, but this is because he was made a division chief through those actions, but was not a chief on the Enterprise. This episode establishes that Sisko had at least 2 brothers. When Bernard comments that he has a talent for gardening, he says his father was a chef who grew his own vegetables and sent Sisko and his brothers to work in the gardens each day. That's interesting. So overall, I think this is a pretty good episode, but yeah, the whole cultism thing, yeah, that's something I really can't get behind, so yeah. So overall, I give the episode Paradise 3 warp cores out of 5. When I'm tuned in a bit as we take a look at the next episode, Shadow Play. So, until then, live long and prosper, everybody.